Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Albritton, SVP of Cloud here at CData, and I'm joined today by Philip Stevens, Senior Staff Software Engineer at Google. Philip, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Mike. I'm really happy to be here. So I've been leading the A2A initiative at Google since the inception back at the beginning of 2025, and I'm really excited to talk about it here.
Great, and we're excited to explore how it's reshaping enterprise AI. Now, Philip, when you talk about agents, you often compare Model Context Protocol, or MCP, and A2A. Can you explain the difference and why both matter?
Sure. So MCP is a standard that defines how your agents can get access to your data, your enterprise data. Context is what's key there. A2A is about how your agents interop with each other. So agents can take action with your data, but how do they work together to actually solve your business problems? That's where A2A comes in, and it's completely complementary to MCP. They work together to solve your agent's problems.
Great. And Google has proposed what you call a canonical agent architecture. What does that look like and why is it important?
Yeah, we think enterprises need a reference to start with, right? It shows where MCP fits into the picture, it shows where A2A fits into the picture, and how these pieces work together. If you don't have this type of reference canonical architecture, you risk the chance that you're going to sort of isolate yourself and you're not going to be able to scale appropriately as you move forward. So the architecture gives enterprises a mental map, a common way to build these systems as they grow over time. So in the figure you can see here, at the top you've got your systems of record, which are accessed through MCP. And then within Google Cloud, we offer ADK as a framework to build your agent logic over, which can then be deployed at scale on Agent Engine. And beneath that, you have A2A, which allows your agents to work with each other. And then below there, you see agent space, where you can bring all these agents together in one place to work together.
Great. That really helps me visualize what this sort of architecture would look like and how these agents can work with the MCP layer as well. And it seems a lot like a microservice architecture when you kind of compare that sort of structure there. So, Philip, agents are only as good as the data that they can access. How does Google think about connecting agents to enterprise data?
Yeah, data is absolutely the lifeblood of agents actually being helpful for your enterprise. And so, having the right connections, the right fidelity, the right security, the right compliance around your data is all critical. And that's why Google Cloud partners with CData to get external data from external systems into your ecosystem.
Great. And integrating with the CData platform means customers can plug into Salesforce, Workday, SAP, and hundreds of other systems directly from GCP. One of the things that makes CData unique is its depth. Our connectors don't just give you a thin API, they support complex queries, joins, and advanced filtering so your agents can behave more intelligently. Enterprises also care about governance, and with CData, credentials pass all the way through to the source system. So same security policies that you've set in SAP or Salesforce are automatically respected inside your agent workflows.
Yeah, that's exactly why we partnered with CData. Customers don't want to spend a lot of time rewriting their APIs and rewiring them. They just want to be able to have turnkey systems that they can plug into their agents.
Now, once you build an agent, how do you actually take it to production on GCP?
Yeah, so GCP, we offer several layers to support that. So you start prototyping and building directly with the ADK platform, where you can test out your agent logic and you're connecting to your data and tools. And once you're happy with how it's performing, you can scale it up by deploying it directly to Agent Engine, which is a managed service to scale up your solution. And once you have customers that you want to be using your agents, you can use them through Agent Space. You can tie them directly in and interact with them right there in that space.
Great. We'll talk about agent space a little more in a minute, but what does a typical journey look like from idea to prototype to production for an enterprise agent on GCP?
Yeah, so starting early, you prototype it with local development, and then once you feel that you have a solution that might be viable, you can now start to scale this out, connecting to your real enterprise data and deploying it out on your cloud surfaces. There you can scale as much as your customers need and access it within agent space.
And A2A was designed for collaboration. Why was this such a motivator for Google?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking to many different enterprises and partners, and it became clear that everyone has their domain of knowledge and expertise, and they want to unlock that with this agent solution. So they want to bring their expertise to their customers. They don't want to just provide the data and the access. They want to actually provide the business logic. And so we thought it was critical to enable and empower them to do that and be able to share those agent interactions across different places.
Makes a lot of sense. And speaking of agents and how they collaborate, how do you avoid conflicts? Like two agents that are trying to do the same thing or give contradictory answers?
Yeah, so that's where A2A is actually really an enabling technology. So in A2A, you can have clear identities associated with each of your agents. You can have proper roles and scopes of responsibility for those agents. And then because it's a standard network communication, you can start applying standard policies and governance and controls to ensure that the right agents are doing the right jobs at the right time. And so, you can log, monitor, apply policies all within the negotiations about who's doing a job, as well as before they even take the actions themselves. So for example, if you had a finance agent and a procurement agent, and they both want to take the action of approving some sort of invoice, you can actually have rules in place that prevent one from being able to take that action and only allow another to take that action, all because it's observable, controllable, and governed through the A2A protocol.
It sounds a lot like people working in business every day, how their normal work streams work together, how these agents can collaborate and work together to accomplish a common goal. And so what are some examples of multi-agent systems that are already being used?
Yeah, so one example might be a customer service type environment where you might have a logistics system and a logistics agent, a support agent, and a billing agent. And when a customer comes in with a complaint or a request for change, you have to talk to all three of these different systems that have their own logic and their own reasoning about what they're doing. And so A2A actually enables that. So the support agent can reach out to the billing agent to understand a customer's complaint, go to the logistics agent to understand, is the customer's statements about what's happened true, and then come up with a policy or a plan about how to rectify that for the customer, all from one centralized entry point for your customer, even though there's a whole bunch of complicated logic going on behind the scenes.
Makes a lot of sense. And then what particular industries do you think are likely to adopt multi-agent ecosystems first?
Yeah, I think the first ones are going to be the ones that have a lot of required isolation of responsibilities and integration that needs to happen naturally within their existing business. So things like a financial services or an IT department or a retail department will have a lot of different workflows that already exist, a lot of different sort of use cases where they want to keep responsibility and isolation together, but they want them to work together. And that's where A2A really is designed to shine.
Got it. And then what enterprises care a lot about governance and security. How do A2A and MCP help ensure the agents are trustworthy?
Yeah, so as we kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, with A2A, because A2A is a network communication protocol, you have the ability to start enforcing access controls and permissions. You have the ability to audit and trace what's happening in your system the way you have before, whether your existing API systems. And so you can start defining policy enforcement at the level of agent interactions. So you can prevent certain agents from talking to other ones in certain criteria conditions and give yourself a sense of trust and confidence that what's happening with your systems is what you intended to happen and nothing else. So it's really empowering for governance and auditability and observability.
Yeah, and I know governance is really important, especially with all of the security, potential attacks that we have today. So would you set up an agent user in Salesforce with certain permissions for this to work?
Yeah, that's one way you could do that for sure. If you wanted to make sure that agent's identity is tied to the actions taken in your Salesforce data and what it has access to, what it doesn't have access to, you create an identity for it in that system of record, and then that agent only has the ability to do what you've given it the ability to do. That's kind of the idea here. You also have a more complicated environment where you have a shared identity of an agent and an end user. A2A supports that as well.
And CData extends that governance in the CData platform. Credentials flow all the way from the source system, so the exact same policies that you've set in Salesforce and SAP carry through into the agentic workflow. That's a huge win for compliance teams. This is where customers really breathe easier because they don't have to redefine permissions in a new tool. They're just extended through CData into that agent environment. You mentioned observability is built in. Can you give an example of what an enterprise would actually see in a dashboard?
Yeah, so if you built your monitoring and observations on top of A2A, you would be able to develop dashboards that could show you which agents are talking to each other for what objectives, what tasks were they trying to achieve, what data were they exchanging between each other, what tools were they using behind the scenes. All of that gives you the confidence that you know what's happening in your systems and you know who has access to what data and for what reason.
This type of observability is really important for security compliance protocols and SOC 2, ISO, and other types of security certifications as well. So while we were preparing for this chat, Philip, you mentioned extension profiles. Can you explain what those are and why those matter?
Yeah, so the way we see A2A is similar to how HTTP is defined. It's a protocol that allows you to have a standard way of interacting between two systems. But with HTTP, some of the power really came out of things like HTML or JSON objects or video streams and so on. So we see extensions like that. This is a space for the community to innovate and create new, novel ways of using agents, but staying within the A2A protocol itself. So we think it's a really empowering thing because we already know that chances are most of the really, really interesting ways to use agents haven't been determined yet. So we don't know how to shape the right way to do that, but we've empowered people to do that with extensions. So it might be, how do you control UI elements within your product? It might be, your enterprise has custom credential support needed or custom verification steps needed, and you can encode that in an extension in A2A. So those customizations that you're already depending on can flow through your agents natively.
That seems really powerful and really lets users have more control over managing these agents. Changing gears, can you tell us more about Agent Space? What role does it play in the broader Google Cloud ecosystem?
Yeah, so you can think of Agent Space as kind of being that end of the journey place where the customers, the users within your enterprise are actually going to be interacting with the agents. So this is where there's one single pane of glass where they can come to, they can do their work, and they can share the workload across multiple agents all from one experience. So it's really the way we see business and success going in the future with using agents.
Now, looking ahead, do you see agents becoming the new APIs?
Yeah, so I believe that's what's going to happen. I think, like I said earlier, as companies want to provide their value add, they're going to do it through an agent interface because they're going to be able to make the best agents for their business needs and their business objectives, and they're going to want to provide that as the value add and not just provide access to the data organizations and the data systems behind it. And so I really believe in the next 5 years, the majority of things won't be API subscriptions or API access. It's going to be agent subscriptions and agent access.
I remember when companies didn't have APIs and that was the new thing. And so it'll be exciting to kind of see how that morphs into agents becoming the new way that people can communicate with their apps as well. So if agents became the new APIs, what does that mean for developers?
I think the developers' roles change a little, but they're still very critical to this, right? Because you have not just the agent developers that have to encode that domain-specific business logic into the agent itself, but you also have the inter-agent developers. How do you make sure that you can build solutions that actually solve business needs across these various agent systems? So there's going to be a lot of work to be done and a lot of exciting things that are possible in this space.
Makes sense. And how important is it for the broader developer community to experiment and contribute to this evolution of A2A?
Yeah, it's absolutely essential. So the goal of A2A is to be a standard for everyone. And so in order to do that, we have to know that we actually can meet everyone where they need to be met for this to work. And so the more people come with use cases and the more they come to pressure test, is it supporting what they need, the faster we can move towards solutions that'll work for everyone.
Great. And if you had to summarize in one takeaway, what should the audience today remember?
So I think takeaway would be that Google Cloud is providing today the ability to build, scale, and deploy and use your agents directly on Google Cloud. And those agents that are deployed with A2A are actually usable outside of Google Cloud. Just like if you built agents outside of Google Cloud, they're now directly usable inside Google Cloud. So this is really an empowering thing where you can build and deploy your agents where you need them for your customers, and they become accessible to everyone.
Well, I think that about wraps us up. Philip, thanks for sharing such great insight into A2A and where Google is taking this technology.
And thank you so much for the opportunity to share. I really enjoyed this.
Me too. I think the message for everyone listening is clear. Google Cloud has made agent interoperability real, secure, and ready for enterprise use. And at CData, we're proud to be the bridge that powers the readiness, giving your agents immediate governed access to Salesforce, Workday, SAP, and hundreds of other systems. Without connectivity, agents are powerful but blind. Together, Google and CData make them production ready. We can't wait to see the kinds of data-driven collaborative agents you all will build next.